broadcast, everyone. 1-800-684-3110 is the number. We'll be joined by Senator James Lankford in just a moment. He is now, of course, a member of the United States Senate, which we're absolutely thrilled with. We got the senator on the phone, is what our staff's telling me. Senator, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you so much. Glad to be able to be in the conversation with you.
Glad to be calling you Senator, too. Congratulations to you and to your family and to the good people of Oklahoma, and really congratulations to all of us. We know that your leadership and fight for all of us will be significant now in the United States Senate.
Well, I appreciate that. We've all got a lot to get done.
We do.
It's a really good group that came in. It's nice to be able to turn the Senate.
Yes, sir. Senator, let me ask you this. We got National Religious Freedom Day coming up. We've got the calls for religious freedom around the globe, and we've got these targeted terrorist attacks in Middle East focusing on Christians primarily. We've got the horrible situation that exists right now in France. We've got the roundup in France, Belgium, and Germany. I mean, we're seeing a explosion on religious fanaticism on the Islamic front in ways that I believe has been there all along. It's just more pronounced now. What's your sense of what we're seeing happening right now?
We are seeing a real movement of Islamic extremism and terrorism and just open attack in multiple fronts. I'd like to say it's a small select group that's over in the corner that is identifiable and we can deal with in a small scale. It's not. It's global. It's millions. It's not every Muslim by any means. It's not even the majority of Muslims that are in this, but it is millions within the Muslim community that have taken into this extremist perspective that everyone's wrong with them and those that are wrong deserve death. Open Doors just came out with just a week ago with their study that they do every single year about Christians and the attack on Christians worldwide, and said it's the worst that has been in modern history.
You know, you've got a piece up on FoxNews.com right now, an opinion piece on Religious Freedom Day 2015, what our founders understood about freedom of faith. It's a great read and a great piece. But the world is viewing religious freedom now in, I think, a very different way, because you've got Western civilization that in most capacities supports at least versions of religious freedom. We have the best religious freedom, I think, in the world. But then you've got this fanaticism, as you just discussed, Senator, and at the same time, you've got the president not willing to call these acts of terror Islamic terrorism. And I think when we talk about religious freedom, we have to understand that these groups like Boko Haram, like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, kill Christians because they will not convert to Islam. But the president will not even call it jihadism or radical Islam. He just won't say it. And I think that sends a very dangerous signal.
I do as well. There are two very dangerous precedents that are being set for religious freedom. One is not calling it what it really is. When it is a religion trying to kill another person because of their faith, or in many areas saying you have an opportunity to convert, be imprisoned, or pay an extremely high tax, which they can't pay because of their poverty, and so they're stuck at that point. Or you have individuals, whether within the United States, and you hear from our own government at times saying you have the freedom to worship, but not the freedom to faith. In other words, you have the freedom to keep your worship inside of your church building, but if you take it outside of your church building, that bothers other people. Now we're limiting speech and we're limiting worship and freedom of religion. That's a very dangerous precedent as well for the future.
Jordan, I know you have a question for the senator.
Yes, Senator, again, congratulations on your election. It's great to have you in the United States Senate. When we look at all of these issues, and today being this Religious Freedom Day here in the United States, when we acknowledge that, we also look to the battles ahead. And if you just talk to people, as no Republicans have just gotten together for the annual retreat, about some of the issues, the most current issues that are really going to be facing the United States Senate. We know even on the immigration issue that will be a real battle in the U.S. Senate, and to understand that though there may be now a majority and you're part of that, there's still a lot of work to be done.
There's still a lot of work to be done. Obviously, there's a tremendous number of budget battles that have to be fought. There are a lot of freedom issues that need to be pushed back. That's every generation's responsibility. The immigration issue is unfortunately not just an immigration issue. It is now an executive action issue, whether it's an executive action, executive memorandum, executive orders, whatever they want to call it, at whatever particular day. Those issues are a push of executive authority over the other two branches, and that was not considered by the Founding Fathers in the Constitution. There are three co-equal branches, and when one branch rises up and says the other branch is either too slow, which is the president's statement, the Senate hasn't done anything, and the House hasn't done anything in 2 years, so I've waited, and so I'm going to press on. That's not a constitutional thing. Or it's just a statement of I don't like what the legislative branch is doing, so I'm going to act on my own. That is also not considered by the Constitution. And those are things that we've got to push back on. Those are historical things that if we don't deal with it now, the next president of whatever party will continue to build on that basis and will continue to press executive action even farther.
You know, it's interesting, and I want to point this out, Senator. Of course, you're on our brief that we filed on your behalf and a number of your colleagues that was argued in the U.S. District Court there in Texas yesterday. Expect a decision before the end of the month on the president's overreach. We appreciate you signing on to that brief. But I look at the situation we're having with the radicalism and the terrorism activities in Europe, and I look at the situation with Guantanamo Bay, and the president talking about closing Gitmo. And then I look at the situation with the overreach on executive, as you said, the executive action overreach on the immigration issue. And I see a nexus that could be very dangerous. And that is we are signaling to the world how porous our borders are at a time when the world terrorists are trying to gain entry into the United States. And I look at that in a scenario, and it does not paint a pretty picture.
Right. It absolutely does not. And this is a national security issue that your listeners know well and other people know extremely well. That this is not just individuals trying to cross our border to be able to work, but that is the vast majority. It's also those who mean to do us harm. If they can come through those same networks, the same movement, pay off the same coyotes to be able to move into those trails and routes that are not being monitored, and we're not tracking those individuals here within the United States and not assuring that those who are within the United States are legal to be here, that poses an additional risk. We already have risk from radicalized individuals here within the United States. The folks in Cincinnati can tell you as they pick up someone who says he's ISIS-inspired and he's coming to attack the Capitol this week, and they picked him up there. So we already have that opportunity among American citizens here that have that. It's greatly increased from people moving from the outside in.
Senator, we appreciate you taking time and being with us. Appreciate your leadership. Congratulations on your election to the Senate. We look forward to continuing our working relationship with you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you. We have a tremendous amount of work to do together on this.
Thank you. Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma, a good friend, and delighted that he's been able to spend time with us